Hello and welcome to our fourth video lecture on AVA. Now, in this video lecture, we'd be analyzing issue essays. Now, we'd be discussing the step-by-step process that you should implement if you want to write a powerful AVA essay under 30 minutes, and each of these steps, we'll discuss what you should exactly do so as to make things easier for you on the test day. All you need to do is follow these steps during practice and get these tips into your head without much effort. Now, today we'll be looking at our issue essay specifically. In the next lecture, we'll be looking at our argument essay. Now, the analysis of an issue essay takes your ability to explore the complexities of an issue or your opinion, and if appropriate, take a position that is informed by your understanding of those complexities. Now, what this means is that you should properly analyze the given issue and take a strong position, either negative or positive, and then elucidate, which is explain examples or give examples as to why you have chosen that particular side. All right. So here you'll have to explain why you are taking that particular side. Now, the specific directions for this issue essay task are given like this. In this section, you will need to analyze the issue presented and explain your views on it. There is no correct or best answer. Instead, you should consider various perspectives as you develop your own position on the issue. Before you begin writing your response, you should take a couple of minutes to think about the issue and plan a proper response before you begin writing. This helps you organize your ideas and develop them fully. Make sure to leave sufficient time to reread your response and make any revisions that you think are necessary. Now, we'll be following a six-step approach towards writing an issue essay. The first step of which is obviously to read the essay. Now, obviously, this must be your first step, but you don't just read the essay. You must perform a smart read. Now, what do we mean by a smart read? A smart read is where you read the prompt and figure out the central idea, right? So, just like what we've done for your reading comprehensions, you need to figure out the central idea, which means you need to ask yourself the questions why, what, and about what, and how. All right. And once you figure out the central idea, jot down this issue on your scratch paper, okay, including some of the important concepts from the topic. This is what more than 95% of the students fail to do. Now, rather than juggling all your thoughts inside your mind, I think it's a lot easier to just pen down whatever you have understood from the reading and in your prompt in your own words. All right. Now, your work on this first step gets you grounded for the essay ahead. After reading the given issue and writing it down in few concise words, you should be able to understand exactly what the issue is and also what some of the crucial concepts related to the issue are, right? Now, the second step that you should be performing is brainstorming the reasons and examples. Now, this is perhaps the most crucial step of all, and this step is also where most of the heavy lifting gets done. Once you know what points you want to prove and what examples you'll use to prove that point, writing the essay will be very, very easy. Half of the duty lies in brainstorming efficient examples and supporting reasons to supplement your point of view. So make sure you spend adequate time on this step. All right. Now, remember, pre-planning before you start writing is of utmost importance because then you'll have a continuous flow of thought while writing and there won't be any wastage of your time. All right. Just like in reading comprehensions, before you go for the options, you should always look at the questions. Remember, the same way, if you're like, if you're thinking about all the steps beforehand, if you're thinking about all the examples that you want to give beforehand, then it will save a lot of time when you're actually typing in your essay. And given that we are not very great at typing, we are not very fast at typing, we should try to save as much time as possible while we are thinking and planning itself. All right. So if you start your writing without thinking through the essay or planning the structure of your essay, you run the risk of wasting time on editing and re-editing of your points. Okay. Are we clear about brainstorming? Okay. Now, now that's not the worst that could happen to you. What could happen more is that you might reach a dead end and there's no more evidence left with you to substantiate your point of view. But you've already spent 20 minutes on the essay that you cannot go back and write a fresh piece, right? Now, so it's very, very important that you take the time to brainstorm some examples and then pick a side. After you've written down the central issue and the key concepts, you should ideally make a pro and con list on the scratch paper. Okay? Now, this is very important point. I'd want you to note these points down. At least jot down these points while you're watching the video. If possible, pause the video and jot down these points, right? So, after you have written down the central issue and the key concepts, you should ideally make a pro and con list on the scratch paper. Start thinking of reasons for both agreeing and disagreeing with the given issue. Okay. Now, once you have enough reasons to pick a side, you can move further. Right. Now, you should think about how your personal experiences relate to the issue at hand. Think about the things you have observed or experienced in your daily life, or maybe you have read about in the magazines or newspapers, or even if you have heard them from your family members or friends. Because remember, in an issue essay, you can have hypothetical arguments and examples, correct? So, even if you have heard it from your family members and it's not entirely true, it's okay, you can use that example, right? Next, you should be coming up with some examples of your own, all right? Maybe at least one or two examples that support or illustrate your point of view. Now, good supporting examples can make the difference between a score of 4.0 and 6.0. So it's worth spending a little extra time trying to generate good ideas. Okay. Now, please don't spend more than 2 to 3 minutes on this part because you can still write a good essay without a perfect example. You can still land up for a 5.5 or a 5 without a very, very good example, very, very solid example. You can still write a pretty good essay. Yeah. Okay. Now, step three is pick a thesis. All right. Now, after you have some reasons and examples for your side that you have chosen to go with, you'll have to pick a proper thesis based on which you will write your opinion. So, this is because you don't have to actually believe the position you write about. Sometimes you may disagree with the issue at hand, but find it easier to come up with examples and reasons for the other side of the argument. So, you need to decide which thesis you are comfortable writing about. Don't mull over it for minutes together. Just choose whichever thesis allows you to write the strongest essay. In most cases, you find that the con side is easier to argue. Though I don't blame you, it's the general human psychology. We try to find the negativities of a thing more. But, anyways, you can find a lot of examples that way, and that's completely fine. All right. Now, your thesis needs to state why you believe this position is correct. All right, this is very, very important. You need to state in your thesis why you believe your position is correct. So take a moment to think about this and jot your thesis down on your scratch paper. All right, now you're ready for the outline. Okay, now how do you outline your essay? Well, first thing when you're on the AVA section, I would like to tell you is don't start writing your essay all together. Instead, first outline your essay in the direction you want it to go. Okay? Figure out what you want to write in the introduction. Alright? How you want to start off and how you want to end the conclusion. Then try to figure out what you want to write in the body of the paragraphs. Okay. More importantly, you'll have to consider how to introduce the opposing side of the argument and counter it with your point of view. This is the most important part of your issue essay. Yeah. You would have to figure out how to introduce the opposing side of the argument and how to counter it with your point of view. Okay. Now, remember that remember that mentioning the other side of the coin makes the graders think that you are mature enough to have considered the various perspectives on the issue without going ahead blindly based on your intuition. Okay. So please make sure that you are preparing a solid outline. Now, the fifth step is writing your response. Now, you might be wondering if writing your response is the fifth step, what might come after it? But that's the most important part, which you should never ever forget. You need to always proofread your essays. So, this is going to be your step six. But, anyways, before that, if you have finished all the previous steps properly as planned, then this is by far the easiest step of all. Yes, all you need to do is write your response in a proper order. Something that looks like this. Have an introduction, yes, where you hook the reader with an amazing intro and state your most important thesis. Okay, your introduction should contain your thesis. The second one is you agreeing to the given issue. Alright, the second one is you agreeing to the given issue. Third one is bringing up the negative side of the issue along with supporting facts and quotes. Third one is bringing up the negative side of the issue along with the supporting facts and the quotes. Fourth one is building up the negative side of the further with strong examples and support. Okay, remember that these examples need to be strong examples. Okay, as strong as possible. Okay. And finally, you should be ending with a conclusion. Finally, you should be ending with a conclusion. Is that all right? Okay. All right. Now, there's the most basic outline. Then it's the one that's the most famous out there. Something that you've been learning right from your childhood, correct? But if you want, you can also follow an unconventional structure and still write a great essay. As I keep discussing in the classes, when you're writing, your ideas need to be clear. You need to follow the ABC of your writing. Okay. Now, what are the ABCs? Well, A stands for your accuracy, B stands for your brevity, and C stands for the clarity. Okay. Now, you should always make sure that these three things are for the best in your essay. Okay. Now, the unconventional style of writing that you can follow is as follows. You can start off with the introduction and then you can go to first argument for the side you take. Okay. Then refute your first take and argue for the opposite side. Now you might be thinking that this is going to axe your case, right? But second the first side that you take again. And then you can go to refuting the take again and arguing for the opposite side. Okay. Now, in this kind of a structure, this will allow you to take a neutral step. Okay. And hence, this will interweave the arguments both sides just like a debate. Now, this is very, very unconventional and not usually usually we won't follow this structure. But in case you want to take a neutral stand, this is one of the best structures out there. All right. Now, another structure that can be used in many situations is taking an introduction, argument for your side, argument against your side, argument again for your side, argument against your side, and in the conclusion, you can evaluate both the sides and then arrive at a thesis. Okay? In the conclusion, you can evaluate both the sides and then arrive at a thesis. For example, I could either say iPhone is better than S10 because dot 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 being my reasons. Or I can say there are so and so dot 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 reasons because of which iPhone is better, right? So this structure is probably the hardest of all, okay? But it has the advantage of being new and uncommon. So graders will definitely appreciate a new structure once in a while and tend to reward essays that move beyond the normal. All right? Is that clear? Okay. Now, remember, no matter what type of essay you're writing, always remember that writing part of the essay should really be the easiest part. Most people who think that they have trouble writing actually don't have difficulty with writing, but they have trouble figuring out what they exactly want to say. All right. So if you have completed the previous steps, you should know more or less what it is that you want to say about the topic. Yes. Okay. Now the last step is nothing but proofreading. Now, proofreading is just another step that's often neglected, mainly because the test takers don't have the time to proofread. Yes, they think that they cannot afford to waste 1 or 2 minutes proofreading the essay while they can use the same time to write an additional sentence or two. But as a matter of fact, a perfect 400-word essay gets a higher score than an imperfect 450-word essay. So you should rather focus on improving what you have already written and try to spend at least 3 or 4 minutes on proofreading what you have written. Since you don't have a spell checker on the AVA, you don't know if you've misspelled any word in a hurry. So be sure to check every single word and try to refine your essay as much as you can. Alright? Make sure you have all the necessary parts of your essay and the examples you mean to use. Doing these things will clean up the overall appearance of your essay and can positively affect your score. Alright? Now, this is not the end of the lecture. We'll be looking at an example and the analysis of a perfect 6.0 score issue essay. Okay? Now, my suggestion is that you take at least 20 to 30 minutes, sit through the video, and write down the essay of this particular question. The question reads as follows: when someone achieves greatness in any field as the arts, science, politics, or business, that person's achievements are far more important than any of his or her personal faults. Now, can you see that this topic is easily debatable? Yes, one could either choose the side that yes, once someone achieves greatness, his merits overweigh his or her demerits. This is one side of the argument. Alternatively, you could also say no, no matter how successful you are, no matter how successful a person is, his merits or demerits shouldn't be affected, right? So these are the two ways in which you can proceed in this regards. All right. Now let's look at what an answer could be. Now I would want to start the essay like this. When individuals attain greatness, their achievements are more important than their personal faults. While historians should not whitewash the personal foibles of great individuals, the impact that these mortals have had in their fields should tower any over any personality defects. To focus on personal weakness of great individuals is to miss the importance of their achievement. The course of human history is decorated with individuals able to rise above their peers and reach the zenith in their fields. These individuals are often the subject of intense scrutiny from contemporaneous skeptics and later historians. But no one can lead an exemplary private life all the time. No human being is able to withstand such great surveillance and historical scrutiny without personal faults coming to light. Great individuals are no exception. However, it is misguided to focus on their personal faults rather than their achievements. To do so is to miss the importance of their work, without which our culture could be worse off. For example, Abraham Lincoln was arguably one of the single greatest presidents of the United States ever had. He managed to bring the country through a substantial revolution and to end slavery despite powerful economic and social forces working against him day and night. However, Lincoln was not a saint. He was moody and prone to depressive funks that disrupted his family and slowly eroded his marriage. These personal faults did not reduce his success as a president. While we do not have to ignore questions about whether he was a depressive, we also should not consider them an important part of his political heritage. In contrast, many people criticize Lincoln's decision to suspend the right of habeas corpus. This presumed failing is not personal in nature, but relates directly to Lincoln's work in his field. Criticisms of this sort are entirely relevant, whereas personal criticisms are not. Alright? Another example of a great individual dogged by criticism of his personal conduct is Albert Einstein. Einstein developed a number of the most important theories in modern physics, including an explanation of the photoelectric effect, an explanation of the Brownian motion, special and general relativity, and Bose-Einstein quantum statistics. Each one of these theories would have been considered a great life's work for a scientist. For one man to contribute this much is remarkable. However, Einstein also had lifelong problems with infidelity. The fact that he cheated on his wife is nowhere relevant to his accomplishments in the field of physics, and indeed, most references to Einstein properly ignore it. To focus attention on the faults of his personal life is to obscure the impact that he made on history. Yes, great individuals have personal faults, as all human beings do. Yet, it is incorrect to assert that these faults detract from those individuals' accomplishments. We are better able to appreciate the gravity of great accomplishments when we are not burying our heads in the sand in search of personal failings. Alright? Now, the essay above that I mentioned in the previous slides deserves a perfect score because it talks about all the seven major elements that the graders look for. Yes? Now, what are these seven major elements? The clarity, your structure, the sentence variety, vocabulary, grammar, evidence, and reasoning. Yeah? Now, the thesis provided by the student is very clear and concise, so there's no confusion about which side the student took. The issue essay tests how well we can present a position on an issue effectively and persuasively. And this essay passes both the tests. Now, the piece is also very well organized. The most popularly used structure, intro, body, 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 conclusion, really works well for this type of an issue. And the student made a good use of it. While the response included only two examples as opposed to the suggested three examples, the two examples presented are extremely strong. President Lincoln is an ideal case study for a leader whose greatness should not be obscured by his domestic problems. The same can be said with Einstein. His infidelities may have wounded his family emotionally, right? But his contribution to modern science and technology will be remembered through the history of mankind, correct? So, obviously, two of the most historic and most apt examples were presented by the student in this particular essay. Now, additionally, the conclusion is substantial and does an excellent job of summing up the essay. The students use a variety of sentences in order to make the conclusion unique and not sounding too much like the introduction itself. Now, he or she does a great job of restating the introduction paragraph without sounding overly redundant. Lastly, this essay is extremely well written and shows the student's grasp over written English language. The grammar and syntax are almost flawless, and it's hard to write a better essay response to this issue in under 30 minutes. Now, if you analyze properly in this examples, in this particular essay, can I say that while you were pre-thinking or pre-planning, you could have come up with good examples like that of Lincoln or of Einstein? Yes. So these examples are very strong examples. So when you're beginning to write your essay, always follow this method of stakeholder analysis. This issue affects whom? Okay? Whom does this issue affect? All right? Now, once you find out whom the issue affects, then you can come up with relevant case studies or examples, right? Now, the more facts you're giving is the better, but even if you're making up a hypothetical example, then it's completely fine. All right. Now, I hope you understood how to write an issue essay. Yes. So please go back home and practice at least 2 to 3 issue essays before you go for the next class on argument essay. All right. Thank you.